morning. Happy Labor Day if you happen to be tuning in on this day, and if I happen to get it published on this day, now that I think about it. But it is Labor Day. It is September 4th, 2023, and this is a video update. I figured I've got a number of things going on, and I figured I could get it out in a video a lot easier with a lot more information than me taking the time to try and type it all up, which tends to get procrastinated. So anyway, there's a number of things that I've been busy doing. One of the things that you've probably noticed is I've started doing some Carrie Stevens patterns. And in that process, I actually started to publish those on Mondays, and the wet flies have moved to Wednesdays. I'm still going to do a bunch of the wet flies. I just love tying these flies. I'm fascinated by them, as well as the featherwing streamers like Carrie Stevens patterns, a bunch of the other classic bucktail streamers and things like that. So I'm going to keep doing both of those. Matter of fact, even with the Carrie Stevens pattern, one of the things I want to do is I've kind of jumped into a rabbit hole here. In researching more and more these particular patterns, I've discovered that there is a difference between the Eastern streamer tying and what they call Rangeley streamer tying, or even Carrie Stevens streamer tying. Her streamers were done specifically in certain ways for specific reasons. What I'm wanting to do over time, probably the next year or so, is to keep tying these patterns and learn her particular style, not just style of tying, but how she exactly tied these flies. And then do a series of videos, or at least culminate with some videos that show just exactly how she did things so that it's documented. There's a number of people that have done this over time. Mike Martinick Jr. did, as well as Don Bastian did some, and the American Fly Fishing Museum has got some of this documented. But I just want to do it in a video format just to keep that information out there and kind of keep that particular style of tying alive. So Mondays are going to be featherwing streamers. Not all of them will always be Carrie Stevens patterns. There will be some other people's patterns. Wednesdays, like I said, wet flies have moved to Wednesdays, so you can look at it as Wet Fly Wednesday. I'm going to keep on doing some of the Bergman patterns as well as some other people. Like I said, I'm just fascinated with those particular patterns. Along those lines, the other point that I had is I've also increased even more the content that I'm putting out. Some of you probably have noticed last February, I started putting out extra content. For a long time, I was only doing one video a week. Changed some things up in terms of how much tying I'm doing, some other things, able to squeeze in some other patterns. So that's Monday is the featherwing streamers. Wednesdays are going to be the wet flies. Fridays are going to be two different flies. One I call the remnant flies, some of you are aware of, and I'll speak on those in a second. And then the other are what I call bread and butter flies. These are, some of them are classic patterns, like I just did the Hornberg last week, which is that's a 100-year-old pattern. It's a classic pattern. But most of these are the kinds of flies that a lot of people learned how to fly fish with. A lot of people are fishing nymphs, fishing woolly buggers, fishing bucktail streamers, things like this. So they're very common, very well known. They are generally pretty straightforward in their tying. There's different variations to them, things like this. But I figure I can get some of those, what I call bread and butter or working flies, common flies, out also once a week. The remnant flies are, if you haven't learned what those are, then I'll look in the description down below. There will be a link to the intro video of what remnant flies are and a few of those that are already out there. Right now, the remnant flies are all done and published for the supporters of the Dressed Irons Guild on Locals. It's my way of adding some extra content to for those people that are financially supporting the guild and dressed irons, just to give a little bit back in terms of saying thank you. Now, eventually those, after they've been sitting there for about a year, those are then going to get published on YouTube. So starting this February or March, I think, when they're some of those are a year old, then they will start to get out there, and there will be more. So that's basically the 4 flies a week that I'm going to be doing. I'm going to start throwing in some extra content from the standpoint of, and I had mentioned this in another video once before earlier this year, that what I'm wanting to work on is doing some videos with multiple angles. Normally you just see the fly this way, and I have things prepped down here so I can just pick them up and put them in and all this. I've done a few videos a long time ago where I also have a camera over my shoulder looking down this way and seeing how I prep, say, some mallard flank wings or something like that. That's what I want to get into doing a little bit more of. I've already worked on a video, a small wet fly called the Babcock, that I'm actually looking to get that video out soon. It's not a complete tying video. It's just a little snippet of me tying at 2 different angles, working out the logistics in the software for putting it together, transitioning it, getting the vocals correct throughout, and all that other stuff. That video is going to come out, and that's just to get some feedback from you all. I just want people to say, yeah, this looks great, would love to see more of this, or no, it didn't work out too well, or I'm just as happy with the videos that you do, all the time. So we'll see. The thing about having the 2 cameras is it's more work. It's more work to set up. It's more work to process the video. The videos are going to be longer too. So because of that, initially, much of that kind of content is going to also be on locals for the supporters of the guild. Again, it's a way of saying thanks for financially supporting. And also, if you're wanting some of that extra content, chip in a few bucks a month to Dressed Irons and you'll get some extra content there. Some videos I will do and I will put out to the general public on YouTube and see how that goes. I'm not certain how all that's going to work out. And I don't know how labor intensive or, programming intensive or whatever that's going to be to get that done. But look for that video coming out soon. My list here. Probably the only other thing that I can think of that I got on my list I haven't mentioned is the Carrie Stevens flies. They're really kind of interesting. Just without getting into it too deep, there's a lot of different things that she did in terms of how she put her flies together. And there is a video that I'm working on this week for showing people how I process the wings and how I glue those together and everything to put into the videos. If you watched any of the Carrie Stevens videos lately, you probably have seen I already have the wings all glued together. I have them all processed. Like these right here are for the black cat that's going to be coming out soon. And these are just black hackles with jungle cock. There's no shoulder. There's nothing elaborate here or anything. But I will have a supplement video basically showing how I put these together. There's other aspects of her flies that I'm still learning about. And this is one nice thing I've always been fascinated about in fly tying is that you're always learning, no matter how much. I've been tying for years. And all the videos that I've done, all the classes I've taught, all the other tyers I've talked to and everything else, you're always learning something new. So you may see in some of the videos, especially with these Carrie Stevens patterns, as I progress through this, you may see me do things one way. Doesn't necessarily mean that I think that's how Carrie Stevens did it. Doesn't necessarily mean that that's how I normally do it. I may turn around and tie, instead of gluing all of these up, I may do a video where I show people how you can tie them in not glued up. Because some people want to know how to do that. They may prefer doing it that way. than processing them ahead of time. I don't know. If you look at any of my videos, you may see me doing some aspects and some things a certain way. Say it's a tip or a tag on a wet fly. You may see me do it a certain way, but in another video you see me do it a different way. That's mostly because of two things. One, I'm learning. So the way I'm doing something today may not be the way I'm doing something next week. But at the same time, I'm also conveying to you, the audience, that some things can be done in multiple different ways. So experiment a little bit. Try wrapping it in a little different. Try anchoring it a little bit different. Try different material, different things like this, because you may find a way of tying that fly that you like better than what I'm doing. So, but the Carrie Stevens flies are really interesting because, like I said, I've been reading and researching more. The Hilliard book is just a fantastic book. If you haven't seen it, let me get that real quick. It's this book right here. I will have links down below for it. And actually, most of the videos that if you look in the description for most of my videos these days, all of them, as a matter of fact, and for the last 6 months, 8 months, I've got some links to some of these books and some of the resources and things that I use. I stopped putting links in for the materials for each of the fly simply because it became too much of a hassle to find somewhere that had them, particularly Amazon. I was putting affiliate links in there, and some of the links now are still affiliate links. But it was just getting to be such a hassle to try and find, Carrie Stevens hook or a particular thread, head cement, feathers, whatever, for every single video. So what I'm focusing on more is some of the resources that I use in fly tying, mostly books and or videos, DVDs. So that list in the description will probably be growing. But a lot of the books that I do mention that I use in my videos, I do have links down in the description. And if there's anything I mention in a video at all that you have a question about, if it's a tool that I use, if it's a thread that I use, a head cement that I use, whatever, leave a comment in the video that you see it, and I'll be more than happy to answer your questions. In the description also is a link to my website, dressedirons.com, as well as a link to the email address, info@dressedirons.com, where you can send me an email and reach out to me and ask a question. Glad to help as much as I can. I think that's pretty much everything on my list. So look for a video coming out soon on processing these Carrie Stevens wings prior to tying those. Also look for a video on the Babcock, the multiple angles. And again, that's just, I want some feedback, what people think about it. I've got some other things in the works down the road, some things I'm thinking about, trying to get more content out. On locals, I want to definitely work on getting a live fly tying thing going, maybe once a month right now. Initially, once I figure all that out, maybe twice a month. As well as I did one Q&A a while back. I want to start doing that on a monthly or, excuse me, on a bi-weekly basis. So that pretty much wraps up where things are at right now. I really appreciate the support that everybody gives me, even if it's just to leave a comment in the video and say, hey, great job, it was nice. If you learn something, if you pick something up, if I've clarified something that makes your tying easier, you enjoy your time at the vise more, by all means, just leave a little note. Let me know. I'm glad to hear about that. Share the videos, let other people know about it. Go check out the group, the Dressed Irons Guild on Locals. It is slowly getting a little more active with people posting their own pictures. Hopefully, it's tough this time of year because fly tying is not the big thing in the summertime. It's getting out fishing. So post your fishing videos and your fishing photos. Let me know what's going on. I'd love to hear that. Send me pictures of flies you're tying, and I'll include that in some of the videos. And hopefully things this winter, when tying season is really in full force, things at the Guild will pick up even more. So again, thank you all for your support. Remember, it's fly tying. You're not having fun. You're doing it wrong.